Hey there, everyone. I'm AJ.
And I'm Carlos.
Welcome to the Roaming Minds podcast, your space for unpacking all things related to mental, cognitive, and neural health.
We're here to shift through the mass of information related to mental health and wellness. Think of us as your friendly guides, here to assist you in making actionable choices in your mental wellness journey.
Now, please understand, we are not doctors, psychologists, or therapists. We are just humans who are curious and have a passion for all things related to mental health, sharing what we've learned for informative purposes only.
Exactly. This isn't medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're dealing with something serious, please hit up your doctor or mental health professional. Don't take our word for it.
Never skip out on expert help or put it off because of something we discussed here. If you need support right now, check the links in the description.
So buckle up, friends. Let's dive into today's convo and explore what's on our mind.
Personally, absolutely, I love the topic itself. I love discussing it. I love the process of it. I will tell you that the process of it is not always pleasant, but going through the process has always taught me a new appreciation for the world around me. Always. And so our topic really becomes this idea of finding purpose in our lives. The concept has been coming out more and more. They have that, the Japanese have the concept of ikigai, finding that purpose within your life. And so when I was, when I was kind of doing research for all of this, this question came up, and I want to put this question out there because I don't like it. It kind of is directly correlated with what we talked about on the other day. But it's, when was the last time you truly felt connected to what you're doing? And you're like,
Hmm.
The first question that came up in my mind is that directly related to purpose? Because this idea of feeling connected to something is tricky, because I mean, even in the stuff that I do, I would agree in that it is my purpose, and we'll define those in just a second.
Yeah.
But there are times when I don't feel connected to it. I'm not always going to feel connected to it just because of purpose. And so maybe that's going to kind of help us define purpose a little bit better and see what that is. I mean, I don't know if I could put, maybe, who knows? We'll get there. It doesn't matter. So we kind of have two ideas of purpose. Purpose, very simply, is the reason why we do things.
Like, why are you doing something? What is the
Right.
purpose at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not like it differs wildly when we talk about a more psychological definition of purpose, because it still ties in with reason. The definition I found was a stable and overarching intention that organizes and gives meaning to life, guiding behaviors and goals over the long term. Okay, we're not talking about the reason why you do something.
Yeah.
But it goes away. I think the reason why you do something and the intention behind something are two very different things, right? Clean my house because I want it to be clean. I don't want to live in filth. There's no intention tied behind that. It's just, hey, I got to do this.
Well, I disagree. The intention is you want to live in a clean house. So there is some intention behind you clean, because if there was
But
no
that's
intention,
the
you wouldn't
reason.
mind.
Is that a reason more than an intention? Because intention, like, I guess.
Well,
Right. That's why I say, I mean, that's why I think I'm not disputing that the definition we just gave isn't tied in directly with the reason why you do something. I just think it has that added layer of deliberately choosing to do something, which is the way I kind of understand intention. is deliberately choosing to do something because of some purpose. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
I don't think that there are any, again, I don't think they're any different. I just think one is more in depth than the other, right? Again, guiding behaviors and goals over the long term. Something that drives my behaviors and goals over long term, again, cleaning houses, just to come back to that example, is much more sure.
Short.
I can speak today. We can have a purpose for doing something silly. It's one of the first questions that I think I ask any kid that I work with is, well, why'd you do that? And they're like, well, because fuck that guy. You know, I don't know. I didn't like his face. I don't know that that's like a good, like, is there a lot of intention behind that? I don't know. I like the intention was like to fucking smack him upside the head. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't, we don't have to spend any more time on that because I think we're in agreement anyway. But the book that stood out the most to me, and it's the thing that I thought about instantaneously, is Man's Search. I'm telling you, I can speak. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Have you read that one?
Answered. No.
It is exceptional. I mean, it is a wonderful book. I read it once and I began reading it a second time. And unfortunately, I have the copy on my Kindle and I use that through my phone. And let me tell you, I loathe and detest reading on the phone. So I didn't finish it the second time. I need to get a physical copy so I can go back and look at it again. But if you're struggling with purpose, it's a really good place to start, is just go pick up that book. Because the premise of the book is like, even in some of the most hellacious internment camps during Nazi Germany, psychologists made it through despite conditions that would have killed anybody. He was a part of the death march, so like he chronicles the death march and he's like, I was pretty much dead by that point anyway. But this idea of this guiding purpose that kept him going on, and this is a guy who had lost all of his, if I remember correctly, I may not, who had lost either all or most of his family to internment camps, and had, at least as far as I could see, I don't know that I would be able to find a purpose in all of that, but it's interesting. And so I think we downplay, I think it's becoming more and more popular with the rise of positive psychology, but I think we downplay the role that purpose actually has in our mental well-being. And purpose, I do want to make this very clear, is different from goals and passions.
Yes.
I can have goals without having a clear purpose. No, I don't like that.
No.
Without having, again, coming back to that psychological definition, right? That has a purpose that doesn't give meaning to my life. If I am constantly being influenced by the world around me in order to make specific decisions, I have goals related to those influences. I'm meant to meet certain requirements and expectations and everything. But they may not be attributing to my positive mental state because they're going against what I know is true for me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And passions are a lot like hobbies. I mean, I love music. I do. It's one of my favorite things. I would lose my mind if I didn't listen to music each and every day. I like gardening, man. There are things that I thoroughly enjoy in this lifetime. None of them are related to my purpose like that. Right? And I mean, I've done extensive therapy and journaling and meditation and all of this, they're not the same. We're not talking about goals. We're not talking about
No,
passions. Go for it.
I absolutely, sorry, I absolutely agree with you. I think goals are things like small things. I want this career. I want to have a family. I want to do this. And you work toward those goals. And passions are things you like: movies, music, documentary, nature. And though, again, all of those things go into their feed into the purpose. But the purpose is, how do you want to your life to be? Like, what do you see? I don't want to get grim, but like, you're on that deathbed. What do you want to look back and be like, what is the overarching theme of my life? Yes, goals and passion and all these things are gonna play a role in that purpose, but they're not the purpose. They play
Hmm.
into the purpose itself.
Yeah. And so the way that I think about it, there's and I don't, this may be a dated framework, but there was I learned about it when I was in grad school. There's a framework for designing video games, and it was mechanics, design, aesthetics. And it was like the mechanics go ahead and drive the design, and then the design goes ahead and drives the aesthetics. It was MDA framework. If I read that paper a long time ago too, so please, if I'm wrong, deal with it. I'm happy to admit that. I'm okay with it. I think that what we're talking about very much so relates. Your passions can guide your purpose,
Hmm.
and then your purpose drives your goals. The problem is, and maybe it's not a problem, but the thing to keep in mind is that passions, there's a lot of them. I mean, while I am passionate about music and I am passionate about plants and I am passionate about reading, those aren't tied to my purpose. They're just not strong enough. But I do have a strong enough passion for all things related to mental health. I do have a strong enough passion for all things related to technology. And so we'll get there. But I want to put that kind of framework out there of how to think about it, that your passions go ahead and can drive your purpose, and then the purpose can go ahead and drive your goals. But if you're just going from passions to goals, or even worse, straight to goals, you're missing that key element of purpose. And it's really interesting. Did you ever watch or hear of the movie was Hero Dreams of Sushi?
Have
Okay. So, I don't even know how old he is now, but he was 80, 90 years old, had been making sushi since he was in his teens, and he's like one of the only, I forget what it was. I'm not even going to say it. There was something to do with him and Michelin stars. It was very, very impressive. It's a preset menu. There's not anything, and it's defined each day. It's not like you get a menu when you walk in there, you pay a bunch of money, you go in, he gives you what he gives you, and you're going to eat it. And you have to make reservations in advance. It doesn't matter who you are. And he's literally just making sushi in a Subway. I think he said that he spent like 10 years just making rice. Again, meaning you can skip the passion part. Maybe there is a passion there. Maybe, that like maybe there is some sort of there's probably something in there making people happy. I don't
there probably is some, like, other subconscious or something within him, that, because I feel like there's, even if it's not like an overt excitement, because when we think of passion, we think of, I just want to go out there and grab it, but sometimes it could be something quiet within yourself that you don't even know where it's coming from, but that just, that makes you want to do something. You're like, I don't know what it is. I like this. Can't really explain it to myself. I'm not really excited about it, but this is what I want to keep doing.
I agree with you. I think there is some level of passion there. I guess what I wanted to highlight in that is it doesn't have to necessarily be like I'm passionate about reading books, so I must have to go become a writer. It doesn't. That's very surface level. And I think that when we talk about passion, in at least in terms of finding that purpose, you really have to go, you have to go deeper. You got to keep peeling back the layers of that onion in order to get there. So we'll get to actionable steps, but I want to talk about some of the challenges first. Burnout is a real MF when it comes to finding purpose, because I don't know about you, but when I'm burnt out, the only thing that I want to do is things that make me feel better, not necessarily go do a whole bunch of self-reflective work to try and find purpose. Societal pressures, family pressures, those are huge. If you're, I'll never forget. I was talking to my uncle, great uncle. I lied. He was my grandmother's brother before a while ways back. And he was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, I don't know, man. I just want to play some music right now." Look me dead in the eye, dude. He goes, "Why in the world would you want to do that? You're not one of those gifted people." I swear to God. I'm not, and I don't
Oh,
believe there was any malicious intent behind it. You know what I mean?
with most people, like what the thing with elder people, there's typically it's not there's no malicious. They're just like you're not really good at it, so why are you telling
Right,
me this?
right. But what it does highlight is like your family has got an idea. And he's not even close family. He's, a few times removed from the fucking situation. And they still have ideas on how you should be and how you should be living your life. It's a big That's a big problem for a lot of people, because people's family expects them to make a certain level of income or go into a certain field, take over family businesses. And that's like on the high side, but even I say high side, that's not the right term at all. But that's on one spectrum of society. You have others that maybe you're living in a more not as well off area, and you have societal pressures to go ahead and become a certain way and not extend beyond those societal means. Those are very real and can stop us in our tracks when trying to find purpose. We're very social creatures. We want to be liked, we want to be accepted, we want friends, we want all of that. And so if you have everybody around you saying, well, you should you're going to have to go be a doctor, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to take care of the family. Or you have to stay forever in this neighborhood, because if you don't, then you're turning your back on us. Or the list goes on and endless. And whatever it is for you, please take it, stick it in there. And you don't have to be that way. Those are the big kind of things. I think the societal and familial pressures outweigh burnout any time when it comes to finding purpose. Because if you're already burnt out, you're probably a little bit more late stage in terms of finding purpose anyway. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying you're too late. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you've been around a while. You've built up some sort of life around you. And so trying to make that transition out of what you've already built in the first place is then going to add even more of a barrier to try and finding that purpose.
Yeah.
Another big one that I think we got to talk about is thinking that purpose is tied to career. It's not. A career is a job. No matter which way we want to look at it, yes, it is not. I mean, we have these romanticized ideas of a career means I'm not working. Well, that's horseshit. You still have work to do. You still have a job. Maybe you're working a business, or running a business, but even at that, that's still work. It's still a job. Your purpose does not have to be tied to a career. It can become your career, and I think that's it's a meaningful goal, and I think it's a great thing to shoot for. It is very hard to turn your purpose and what you like doing into a career. It's not easy. There are lessons to be learned, there are obstacles to be overcome, and if you don't if you don't want to jump those hurdles because of wherever you're at in your life, whatever that is. I mean, if you're mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, whatever, and you've been in your career for a few years, maybe you don't want to go through the pain of learning something entirely brand new so that you can go and pursue that purpose and that passion. Typically, I think usually it boils down to how comfortable you are. If you're super comfortable in your life, why then go try and change it to find that purpose on a major scale, right? I mean, I'm talking about
Yeah.
going out and seeking that, not about finding purpose, because you can go find purpose. I mean, you can work a completely respectful job, career, whatever, show up every day for 30, 40 years, and then on the side, like your purpose could be taking care of dogs at veterinary shelters. I don't know. I mean, I would never do it. But that doesn't mean that and it's not because of what it is. It's just because I don't like animals. That's what I'm so sorry. I got to watch myself on that one. It does not have to completely change your life in order to find that purpose. You just have to know what it is you want out of this lifetime. Dude, your purpose can be showing up for your children in a way that's meaningful and respectful, and in a way that maybe you didn't have. I don't know. These are just examples.
They're great example. I think to go back to a point, when purpose and goals become tied, especially in a career way, and when people like fail to meet, go back to the point you were
Yeah,
making
please do.
earlier. Purpose, goals are tied together, especially in a career way, and it becomes career oriented, and people fail at it. They're like, "Oh, I didn't get the promotion." And that was my purpose in life, getting that promotion. I didn't get, I feel like I didn't pass this exam, so I can't get into grad school, med school, dental school, whatever it is. And people are then thrown for a loop because their purpose was tied to this, I don't want to say, but like a tangible thing, something that can be measured. They can just be like, boom, I've reached it. And when you don't do that, then people go, I'm so confused. People have midlife crisis, core life crisis, or just crisis in general. Be like, I don't know why my purpose is in life, and it's because you've tied your goals, like your purpose and your worth, or like what you want to do in life, to this achievable thing, and then you don't meet it, and then what? And so there's a lot of that, or people then meet that goal and they're like, "Oh, I am here. What's my
Mm-hmm.
purpose now? Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
reached what I was supposed to. What do I do from now?" And then people then
Mm-hmm.
again go into crisis, or they don't understand. They're like, what am I supposed to do with my life now? Does my life no longer has meaning because I have
Yeah.
achieved
I
this, or because I have failed to achieve that?
Yeah. No, I think that that's a I think those are really good points, because no matter what, I think when you start to find that purpose, no matter what, right? We kind of inherently tie our purposes to our goals, and it's hard not to take things personally when you're like, but I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Why am I meeting such resistance? And that, I think, is a topic that we can explore in depth at another time, just because we could spend days talking about just that simple topic alone. And so I'm gonna leave that one alone for a future. But for now, I think you are 100% right in that we, even though you maybe didn't meet a goal, or you met the goal and kept and whatever, the purpose should be large enough to kind of keep you going sustainably. I mean, I guess the correct term, I guess, what I'm thinking of is like a sustainable purpose. If my And I guess that probably ties back in with that psychological definition as well, right? And I'll come back to the clean room example. Yes, I have a purpose to clean the room, but that's not sustainable over long term, because once I meet that goal, it's done. And then I no longer have that purpose. When it comes to the psychological purpose, you're talking about guiding your behavior and your goals over the long term. And so making sure that that purpose is large enough to encompass that. And then the other side, like I said, we'll definitely address at a later spot. I did like a quick research on scientific articles surrounding purpose, just because, the rise of positive psychology has kind of opened up more documented evidence for it. I think we've always kind of known it, but like having that evidence for it really is a lot better. There have been multiple studies that show that purpose is strongly correlated in longevity hotspots. Places where there are a lot of people, more than average, that live to be over 100, there is a very strong correlation that those people who are living over 100 have that sense of purpose. So purpose is really, it really is a big deal. I'm not trying to go down that road, because I don't think I think, again, that's beyond our scope, right? We just want to kind of talk about it. What is it? Define it. And then I really want to get to the more actionable steps of things. So don't ever downplay this idea, especially if you're struggling at all. If you're comfortable and everything's all right, maybe you've already kind of hit that purpose and you're kind of living it. But if you're struggling at all with anything, then I think it becomes even more important to seek out those more purpose-driven aspects of life. And one of the big things that we have to do is gain an awareness. We've talked about it I think I bring this up almost every single episode. Awareness is at the forefront of everything, because if I don't know about it, I can't do anything about it. So I looked up some, like, what are some common self-reflective prompts for finding purpose. And I'm going to be honest with you, I really don't like any of them. The first one that I came to was, what activities make you lose track of time? Well, okay, so you're asking, what activities get us to a sense of flow? And that is not, again, those are helpful in finding your passions, but that doesn't mean that that's going to help you find your sense of purpose, because your passion does not have to become that purpose. That does not mean that the act of analyzing those things with a therapist or, whatever, with a friend, I don't know, that there's not something in there that is not directly related to your purpose. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of how to put that. I do like building software, and I do like developing new technologies. That is a piece of what happens, but it's not the developing of the technology itself. It's the act of creating itself. It's the act of creating those environments. And I found that out through observing my passions, but it was not I'm not like, yes, building software is the end of I don't ever want any of that to stop happening. I don't think that's the case, but I don't ever want to stop creating. I don't ever want to stop building things that are useful for people. The next one, who benefits from the work or energy that you put into the world? Kind of implying that your purpose has to do with something that is of massive benefit to humanity. And it doesn't have to be. I mean, as we saw with the previous example of Jiro Dreams of Sushi, it does not have to be tied to like this, I'm What's your massive benefit? People benefit because they like to eat, and there is a benefit for people, but it's not like if he stopped making sushi tomorrow, the world isn't going to collapse.
People eat, people will move on. Some people will
Right.
be sad for a few days, but then they'll move on with their life.
And it's okay. I mean, you can think about maybe what kind of benefit you want to bring into the world. Maybe you enjoy seeing the smile on people's faces when they take that first bite. That's very valid. And I think that that's super, but it doesn't, I guess it does not have to be on such a large scale. It can be on a very tiny scale, and that's okay. It's not imperative that it's huge. One that I like, and I first heard this concept from Naval Ravikant. I don't know if you know who he is. He's definitely, I know he has his own podcast. He was an angel investor at one point. He was definitely in the tech world at another point in time. You know, has worn a few different hats. But he talked about this idea of specific knowledge and finding your specific knowledge. What is it that you and only you can provide that nobody else can? It's a hard question to answer, because you have to, it's not just like, well, okay, well, what did I learn in school? That's not the case, because you, just like a whole lot of other people, learned a lot of the same things in school. So, you know, grade school and high school, you're mostly learning the same things as all the other kids. Even if you're in more advanced classes in high school, you're still not out competing every other human on the planet with the knowledge that you know. Even after grad school, maybe not I lied. When you start getting into grad school, PhD level, I mean, you are effectively creating new knowledge at that point.
But also your level of ability is also very limited. You are very an expert and very. There is always somebody more knowledgeable than you in other fields. You may know a lot about neuroanatomy, biology, software development, but then there's somebody who knows more about arts, more about, I don't know, all these other culture, anthropology than you would ever known in you've ever known.
Right. But that is what we're talking about. I mean, we are talking about specific knowledge. And the thing that I definitely don't want anybody to confuse is that you have to go get a PhD in order to have specific knowledge. You do not. Specific knowledge also ties in with your life experiences, the things that you do outside of school, outside of work. You could be a foremost authority. I'm going to use the dog example because I don't like them, and why not? You could be the world's foremost authority on training dogs and have never stepped into a classroom to learn about animal psychology ever. But you still have the specific knowledge of how to train the dogs more effectively than everybody else. And chances are you will, I don't want to say get paid to do so, but probably people will seek you out if you are acting on that specific knowledge. When you can define specific knowledge, I think it's much better and much easier. I think when I kind of learned about that concept, it was much easier to figure out, all right, what are the next steps that I have to take in order to find my purpose? And that was really helpful. So you can use some of those prompts, you know, to help you break down and figure out, okay, what are some aspects to my purpose? And then it's all about experimenting. Go try some activities, try something new. Whatever it is, just start moving your feet, start taking actions, because I guarantee you that if you move your feet and if you take action, you will get to a purpose. If you stay at home and play video games and watch TV and don't actively try to do new things, you may never, because I guess the key there is distraction versus engagement. If you engage with life and experiment and try new things, there's a good chance you're going to be able to find that purpose. If you constantly focus on the distraction side of things and only go and figure out how can I be distracted from what's really going on, it's going to be a lot. The chances of you finding it are relatively slim.
Yeah.
And then, journaling, therapy, mentors. That's the one that I'm experimenting with right now that I think is really important. So, journaling is always helpful, talking about it with a therapist, but having somebody that can kind of guide you through that process that's done it before is tremendous. And this next one is kind of my favorite, micro purposes, finding smaller purposes in order to then go and find that larger purpose is really helpful. Those are kind of like your actionable steps, figuring it out. So starting with some level of self-reflection, asking yourself those prompts, experimenting with new things, and then ultimately finding ways to help you process, and then experimenting even with purpose.
I like that because with the micro purposes, it allows you to have these small purposes, but then you'll be like, oh, maybe I don't like that. Maybe that don't feel right to me. I don't like that purpose. And then that way you evolve and you experiment with other purposes that leads you to the bigger purpose that you want to go ahead and that be the thing that you want to go for or you feel is right for you.
Right. I mean, it'll happen I shouldn't say relatively quickly. It'll probably happen as quick as you want it to. The more action that you put in and the more time and effort that you put towards that is really how fast it's going to happen for you most of the time. Or at least, let me rephrase that. In theory, I think that's a good place to kind of begin our wrap up. We started off with this question of when was the last time you felt truly connected to what you're doing? And we went a little bit deeper than just that in order to try and begin to define how it is we go about thinking about and finding our purpose. We talked about, purpose being a reason for doing things, but on a deeper, more psychological level, that intention that gives meaning to your life, that guides your behaviors and goals over the long term, not just short term. We talked about how they're different from goals and passions, and we kind of laid out that passion, purpose, goal kind of framework. We talked a little bit about challenges, societal pressures, burnout, thinking that it has to be tied to a career or it has to be this major upending life change. We briefly mentioned scientific evidence because, again, beyond scope. And then we just talked about those actionable steps. And just to reiterate, right? Self-awareness, asking yourself these prompts. Start with a few of them and really reflect on them. Experiment. Put 1 foot in front of the other and just keep right on going. Try new activities, journal, therapy, find a mentor, all of those things. And then when you're ready, tie them to smaller purposes so that you can go out and find those larger purposes, that larger purpose that is like the North Star for you. That's all we have for today. Thanks for hanging out with us on Roaming Minds.
Carlos here with a friendly reminder, your mind's worth it.
If you enjoyed our conversation and want to learn more, hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening. Spotify, Apple, whatever works for you. Maybe even drop us a review if you're feeling extra kind. If you're the social media type, come find us on Instagram at roaming_minds_pod. We've got updates, behind the scenes bonuses, all that good stuff.
Catch us next week for another ADHD-filled adventure, chasing life, liberty, and whatever shiny idea grabs us next.